Podcast Studios. This is After 9 with Scott and Kat.
Hey now.
Hello, friends.
Hey, Kat, how are you?
Good.
Good. It's a busy day, and today's pod is going to lean a little heavier on some of the things that you talked about in What's Trending on the Scott and Kat radio show today. Can we start off with a little bit of Rob Schneider?
Yeah, let's do it.
Why is he going after Will Smith before I play the clip?
So Rob Schneider, for those who don't know, is actually a part of the, it's not the Academy. It's whatever the group was. It is part of the Academy in a way that had to penalize Will Smith or figure out what the punishment was for the slap from 2020.
Would he be on the discipline committee?
I suppose so. Yeah, whatever it's called. And we know that it was like, it was years ago now, right? But he couldn't talk because he was on said committee and now he's not. Now, keep in mind a certain piece of information that I think is quite relevant to this before we play this for you is that Rob Schneider hangs with who? Adam Sandler. He's in all the Adam Sandler things. Who else is in a lot of Adam Sandler things? Chris Rock.
Chris Rock.
So that's his guy, man. And that's the crew. And now he's finally letting loose, and he's letting everyone know that Will Smith is a big piece of shit.
All right, listen to this, everybody.
Did you ever speak to Chris Rock after the slap?
Oh, we should point out, he was doing a radio interview, was he?
Yes, he was. Yeah, we'll point that out, too. Yeah, he was doing a radio interview.
Because he's your mate.
Yeah.
I would have been straight on the phone if it was my mate getting
No,
slapped.
but
going,
I was in a sticky situation because I was actually, an elected official of the union at the time.
Oh.
Will Smith has been hiding the fact of who he really is, and it was exposed that night. That he's really he's a deep, dark thing. To do that in front of all those people and to a really great, legendary comedian who's literally the best comedian of our generation.
Sure.
You wouldn't have like this whole wave of comedy that came after if it wasn't for Chris Rock. He's kicked open the doors. So for him to do that, but I wasn't allowed to say anything at that time because we were part of the committee that was supposed to punish him.
And how do you punish him?
Wow, wait. Just back up a second. Hang on.
I want to know
Will
what the punishment
Smith is like, for me, when I met him, right, I always say...
Like the nicest,
yes,
most wonderful. He's a liar. Complete, utter fraud.
Really?
It was exposed in that time.
Okay, we all thought in that time, he was under all this pressure, though. And
I
there was
didn't.
some-
I
it was a
thought-
I've been
snapped
under pressure.
moment.
Oh, well,
You're right.
Kyle's been under pressure. You've been under pressure.
Interesting you say that about
No,
Will.
Will
because-
is a bag, and that's something that you can't. The thing is, that's how politically correct the Academy is.
Right.
That they were so cowardly. Because if I would have done that, they would have been hauled out to prison. But because they were so worried about being, racist or whatever, they were like, we can't be. The point is, violence is what it is, and what the color of your skin
Where'd
or
you live now?
your religion doesn't matter.
Sure.
If you commit a crime in front of other people, you get hauled out of there.
Yeah, but didn't you also sort of think, he's standing up for his missus? You didn't like that?
It doesn't matter. You can't hit another dude. If you're standing up for your missus, it's a joke. And I also thought it was a very mild joke.
All right. Lots to unpack there. First off, one thing he said at the end, it's not okay to hit another dude to defend your woman. So if you and your husband, for example, Kat, are out and somebody makes a crass remark toward you, is it okay if your husband just beats the living hell out of him?
I mean, I don't know. It's all circumstantial, to be honest with you. There's no it's not black or white in my mind, in my opinion.
Fair.
I don't think it is. It very much is a circumstance and a situation. Like in that case, no, absolutely, he should have sat his ass down. I think most people agree with the fact that you're in a public place. Not just that, you're live and millions are watching. Like, settle your shit with that person and that joke you didn't find good later on. A little immature, right?
Totally.
So I would hope the same, depending the scenario, of course.
Got it. Why is Rob Schneider going after him now? He's no longer affiliated with the Academy, or he's just given up on winning Oscars?
I don't.
Because they're going to be right pissed off at
I
that.
don't know if he ever did consider himself Oscar quality.
That's why he was on the
nicest
discipline
way
committee.
to put it? I don't know. But yeah, he's saying it now because he was on the committee. I don't know up until what time, but he doesn't do a lot of interviews, right? So I don't know. I don't even know what sparked this interview. Is he promoting something? I'm not even sure, but he just talked about it.
Rob Schneider is big online, going after the government. He is a pro-freedom guy and does not like many of the things that have happened over the past few years.
He's an opinionated fella on many topics, is what you're saying.
Certainly is.
Got it.
Now, while we're playing some audio clips, I don't even know why he did this. Piers Morgan had a special guest the other day.
He did it because, I don't know, it's Piers Morgan. It's Piers Morgan, right?
Kevin Spacey, though, I mean, if you consider Pieces of Shit a mountain, he would be like right at the top of the mountain. He's the pinnacle of pieces of shit. Everybody remembers what happened with Kevin Spacey. There was some underage boy allegations. It was fucking gross. He's not in jail. He's doing interviews, believe it or not, and he was on Piers Morgan. And I think Kevin Spacey wants all of us to feel sorry for him. Is that the vibe here?
That's the vibe. I mean, for me, there was a couple takeaways. Yes, feel bad for me, and he is losing money. Of course, he's been losing money for years because of this. Yes. And he talks about his property that he's losing. What was interesting to me too, and I know we're going to play some of it, but he admitted that the rumors are true that Prince Charles reached out to him with support.
Prince Charles
during this interview last night
reached out to Kevin Spacey when he was on trial for very inappropriate sexual scenarios he found himself in with young underage people. Sorry, I don't know that they were underage, but they were certainly a lot younger people.
Yeah, right. A lot of different allegations there.
Where do you live now?
Fuck off.
Well, it's funny you asked that question because this week, where I have been living in Baltimore, is being foreclosed on. My house is being sold at auction.
Really?
So I have to go back to Baltimore and put all my things in storage.
Really?
So the answer to that question is I'm not quite sure where I'm going to live now, but I've been in Baltimore for since we started shooting House of Cards there.
So how long is that?
I moved there in 2012.
So this has been your home for 12 years?
Well, not this particular place, but this place has been my home and Evan and Lucy's home since 2016.
Why is it being foreclosed?
Because I can't pay the bills that I owe.
Are you facing bankruptcy?
Been a couple of times when I thought I was going to file, but we've managed to sort of dodge it, at least as of today.
How much money do you have?
None.
Really?
Well, I mean, you have some sense of legal bills.
Yeah.
I still owe a lot of legal bills that
You're
I have not been able to pay.
You're actually in debt?
Yes.
Do you mind me asking how much you owe?
It's considerable.
Millions?
Many millions, yes. The house itself is many millions.
What are you going to do?
Get back on the horse.
How are you?
Get back on the horse.
That's tough. That's a good luck.
Yeah.
I mean, mind you, someone did hire him. I remember we told a story not too long ago, months ago, that he did get hired for something like a production, but it's really obscure. I mean, there's no Hollywood director in their right mind that's gonna come near that guy with a fucking 50-foot pole and be like, get over here and be in my production.
Wait a second, though. Is this kind of like an Epstein Diddy thing where this guy's got dirt on other people that may or may not have been involved in some of the things that he was or was not accused of doing?
As of right now, there's no rumors that Kevin Spacey was in bed, is that the right way to put it, with any of those people.
Okay. Then why did Prince Charles reach out to this guy?
That's a great question. That's what I'd like to know.
I mean, we've heard anecdotally rumors, conspiracy theories, if you will, about the royal family and what they're up to and things like that. And
it's strange. Yeah.
Very strange. Them calling or even the king calling Kevin Spacey fits very nicely with those rumors that we've heard online about the royal family. And frankly, I don't understand what he was thinking when he did that. Or was Kevin Spacey not supposed to say that the king called me to offer his support?
Yeah, and I'm not sure where. I think it was like right in the beginning of the scandal that blew up while House of Cards was being filmed, or they were about to film the season that ended up being the last one. It was right around that time, I think. So maybe they had a connection previous. And by the way, but it is totally possible. People have multiple lives sometimes. They lead one life one way, and you think they're a good person, and next thing you know, you find it they're a fucking scumbag. So it's possible that a lot of people text him their thoughts of support or called him with, oh man, I heard about that's fucked up. This was kind of before the Me Too movement. this whole thing that came out with Kevin Spacey being a big piece of shit, you know? So I think that there was probably far more people supporting him than they wish they did, you know?
Two things coming up in just a sec. We're going to talk about flying and our serious lack of options here in Southern Ontario. And we're going to talk about, actually, you know what? I'm going to save that part. Before we do, one more along this vein. Rihanna is not retiring, but I love the shirt that got everybody thinking she was.
It's so funny. I saw this trending like on X like a little while ago because she went out in public with a shirt that just said, "I'm retired." And her fans were like, oh my gosh.
People are like throwing themselves on the ground. Oh,
no. Album? We thought there might be an album. Oh, no luck for an album. Oh, is she going to sell Fenty? Oh my God, no more makeup, no more lingerie.
Okay, that would be tragic for some, though, who are very into that Fenty stuff.
I mean, if anything, she'll sell it and they'll keep selling the shit. For sure. There's going to be people willing to buy it. It's very profitable. This is a billionaire, though, that is far more relatable than you think. She said she wore it because she's retired from dressing up.
Good.
It was a plain shirt, black and white, I think, or whatever, plain lettering on it for sure. I'm retired. And that was her way of saying, I don't fucking care what I'm wearing, so don't bother trying to critique it.
Yeah.
I'm down for that.
I am too. You know what? I think I'm nearing my retirement age as well when it comes to the clothing. Fuck it. I don't have anybody to impress. Rihanna doesn't have to impress anybody. Everybody knows I can dress up and she can dress up. But why do we have to do that to prove that we can?
Well, and think about how much pressure it is too. And her state, like this is why it's super relatable to me. She's got 2 kids. She is a very hands-on mom. For those wondering, like I believe her when she says that. Like she is hands-on. She doesn't hire many people to help her. So when it comes to, other than when she has to work, of course, but that's like most of us. But you know, when the baby's up in the middle of the night, she's up. You know, she is past the stage of needing to impress. She's already impressed well beyond anybody's expectations, I think, of Rihanna when you first knew of Rihanna. Good for her. Do whatever you want.
You've got a comparable schedule and personal situation to Rihanna with 2 young kids at home. Did you ever wake up one morning and say, you know what? Fuck this. I'm a mom. I'm not doing this shit anymore. I'm retired.
I don't think it's necessarily, there's never a declaration about it. I love that she's put a declaration out there. That's interesting. But I think for a lot of people, you come to terms with not needing to being happy with yourself is what matters, right? There are some days you want to dress up. Like, fuck, yeah. I feel like doing that. I feel like doing my hair. I feel like wearing a dress. I feel like wearing heels today. There's other days where you're like, nah. And I think that that's totally okay.
It's a serious blow to John C. Munro International Airport. Hamilton International Airport.
Okay.
Just when we thought we were finally going to start getting some good flight options out of Hamilton.
Oh, no. I don't like where this is going.
WestJet has pulled the plug on a bunch of flight options. Do you remember back when WestJet bought Sunwing and it was like, oh, fuck, this is going to be great. And we're going to be low cost and we're going to be premium at the same time. And there's going to be more flight options. And the government shouldn't even look twice at this deal because it's a great deal for everybody. And
yes.
Look at all these new flight options.
We were excited.
Well, WestJet apparently was screwing with us. Back in March, they said Hamilton flyers would get affordable flights all summer long to St. John's and Halifax, as well as Calgary and Orlando. Less than 3 months later, the only destination that remains is Florida. People who had flights booked have been receiving emails telling them their flight out of Hamilton has been canceled. And as of July 1st, no more flights to the Atlantic region out of Hamilton. This is some bullshit.
Sucks. Yeah, it sucks. They're not doing unless they haven't scheduled it yet, they're also not doing Vegas. Like I had a great experience traveling from Hamilton to Vegas and back, and they're not doing it this year. There's 0 flights to Vegas.
It's shit.
Other than, there's connecting flights, but who fucking wants connecting flights? Not me. I don't want to spend 8, 9, 10 hours getting to Vegas when I could get there in 4. Like, give me a fucking break.
Yeah, absolutely. Vegas is one of those places you do the direct flight.
Yeah.
So, serious question. Is the GTAA, the Greater Toronto Airports Authority, are they the mob? Because it really seems like anybody who tries to get something going at an airport other than Pearson ends up in a situation like this. A quick backstory here. In Canada, we have Air Canada and WestJet. Now, there's been countless other airlines that have tried to get something going in Canada. And I think we all understand that competition brings the price down for everybody. The more airlines flying, the more destinations they go to, it's convenient for us, and we should, in theory, be saving money. Now, we've got international airports in Kitchener and in Hamilton, both within an hour of the Toronto International Airport. But for some reason, Air Canada, our so-called national carrier, WestJet, our other so-called national carrier, don't want to get involved in Hamilton or Kitchener. And it drives me batshit crazy. As the traveling public, I'm here to tell you, Pearson, we're sick of your shit. We remember during COVID when you lost our fucking luggage and you made us wait 3 hours to get through security, and when you charged us $25 for a bottle of water, and when you, the list goes on of how you get screwed at Pearson. We've got two great alternatives in Kitchener and Hamilton, and we've got airlines with nothing but time. They could land in Hamilton. They could land in Kitchener. Why doesn't Air Canada land in Kitchener or in Hamilton? Now WestJet, the few flights they did have at Hamilton, they're dialing them back. And my question is, why? Let me put it to you this way. If the Hamilton or the Kitchener airport were anywhere else in Canada other than where they are with close proximity to Pearson, they'd be busy international airports. If the Kitchener airport was in fucking Regina, there'd be daily nonstops across the country. But it's not happening because, it's only an hour drive. Go to Pearson, and that's where we make our money.
I know we're specifically talking about WestJet and Hamilton Airport here, but we had on, was it like the head of Flair Airlines on our show
Steve
at one
Jones.
point?
Yeah. He just stepped down, by the way.
Figures we have his number and he just stepped down.
I know.
I'd love to know what the fuck is going on there too.
Well,
like there's a lack of traveling options and there used to be an abundance. And I feel like the desire is still there.
The people want it. It's just
Yeah.
the airports and the airlines all seem to be colluding to shut down Hamilton and Kitchener or make sure that people don't want to go there. And I don't understand why.
I don't get it. We just got like extra parking lots and shit in the Waterloo airport too. Like a lot of extra space for it and the expansion and everything's good. But the lack of flights, like it's only if you want to travel to like Edmonton and fucking Halifax. Otherwise, you're screwed. And that's great for the people who do want to. There's a few great direct flight options, but there should be more.
There should be more, and they should be less expensive because there should be more competition. But when you get Air Canada and WestJet squeezing out all the little guys or buying them up like WestJet just did with Sunwing, and you think about all the old airlines we used to have that have gone under, Canada 3000, and the list goes on and on and on.
Yeah.
We don't have them anymore, but Air Canada and WestJet, good old faithful, still trying to force us all to go to that gong show at Pearson Airport. It's a mess. I'm worried about companies like Porter. Porter, there's a great true Canadian success story. Started off with a couple of planes with routes that people wanted to fly at a good rate.
Free beer and wine, seats that are good. It's not like the 3 in a row, it's the 2. So you know you're sitting with your person and you don't have to worry about anybody else. There's good space. It's great.
They treat you like a person instead of an animal.
Yes.
And they tried like hell. Can we get some jets to fly out of the island airport? We won't bother Air Canada or WestJet. We'll just fly out of the island airport. Unacceptable. Then Air Canada started flying those same planes out of the island airport. Now, Porter, in order to be competitive, had to get these jets, which can go further. Now you can fly on Porter out to Victoria. You can go down to Florida. You can go out to the West Coast, the U.S. West Coast, and more. It's great. I'm just worried because it seems like anytime another player comes into the market, Air Canada, WestJet, and the GTAA are going to try and either soak them for money or squeeze them right out of business. It's so frustrating. Flair, great. They fly out of Kitchener. Why doesn't Air Canada and WestJet? Why is WestJet pulling out of Hamilton? Why hasn't Air Canada moved into Hamilton? They got a fucking bus in case you want to check in Hamilton.
I know. Which I think for some people is like, okay, fine. But I don't know. For me, it's still a lot added to your travel.
It is.
That I'm not a fan of.
They got to figure this out. I mean, taking options away is not the right way to go. There should be more competition, more airports, more destinations, and lower fees. While we're talking about these type things, let's go to an institution that we all know and love. Reports in the Toronto Sun today say that there's going to be more changes coming to the beer store LCBO saga.
I am curious about. We understand, guys. This is not a discussion about there's bigger fish to fry. We all know there's a lot of shit going on in this country. But this interests me because we've been talking about this, regardless of everything else happening in this country and in the province, forever.
Well, people accuse Doug Ford of being obsessed with alcohol. Weird, because the guy doesn't drink. But he has tried to do some common sense things in the alcohol industry that would be more convenient. The thing is, even if you don't like Premier Ford, you're going to oppose anything Premier Ford does, even if it is a good idea. And I think by and large, if people just objectively stepped back and looked at the situation, they would think, yeah, the rest of the country does this. All of North America does it except for us. We should modernize our liquor rules. Now, I still think that we should get the government out of the liquor business altogether. They can regulate it, but they shouldn't be the one and only one selling it. That's a story for another day. Mm-hmm. They have, though, allowed beer and liquor stores to sell a bit of alcohol. So starting in September, you can go to a convenience store, a gas station, just like you can in the States, and you can buy beer, ready-made grab-and-go cocktails, wine. Good. And those convenience stores, of course, sell a lot of things, not just beer, liquor, and wine. So doesn't it make sense then that the beer store should be able to sell other stuff other than just beer, since beer is going to be sold in a place where they sell everything?
In the argument of fairness, I mean, I think so. So here we go.
Here we go. Apparently, the beer store is going to expand their offering. They'll be allowed to do that once beer is available in corner stores. You'll be able to buy lottery tickets at the beer store.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think that's not a bad idea, by the way. OLG's probably fucking pumped about that.
I think they are. They're a Crown Corporation as well, so I can't see why they wouldn't be in favor of this. I shouldn't draw the two. The beer store is not a Crown Corporation. It's owned by the consortium of brewers. But either way, this is an Ontario thing, so yeah, there's a lot of synergies there with OLG. But what about food? The beer store will be allowed to sell food.
I know. I'm curious what kind of food would enter the beer store. Like, first of all, it's already cold as fuck in there. So you're going to have for sure things that are kept cold just by sitting in the beer store. I find it so cold in there anytime I got to go in there. I don't venture into often, by the way. Beer store's a weird one for me. I don't really like it in there. Kind of smells funny, to be honest with you. I'm not a big beer drinker. Maybe that's why.
Fun fact, the only time I go to the beer store is to return empties.
Oh, right. Of course. They're the only place still that you can do that.
That's right. And it's probably going to remain that way. So we do need the beer store if they're going to handle the bulk of the recycling.
Sure. No, I know. And it's a busy place. I know there's a lot of people who like it, especially those drive-through options. Oh, are they going to do food in the drive-through too?
That'd be great.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I'd like a 2-4 of Miller Lite and a coffee and a bagel.
But that's the thing. Are we talking about like shelf-stable product only? Or do you think they'll bring in food like a 7-Eleven? Like, could you basically walk into 7-Eleven, there's beer, and you walk into a beer store, and it's like a 7-Eleven in there where there's like pizza and fucking weird hot dogs on a roller.
Those rollers are great.
Great.
I don't know exactly, but I'm sure the government is going to come out and clarify soon.
Sure.
So far, all I've heard is that the only thing the beer store will not be able to sell is cigarettes. That one is a weird one for me. It's an entire store where you got to be an adult to get in there. Only adults can buy cigarettes. I don't know why they wouldn't sell cigarettes at the beer store if that becomes an option. I think that they probably should. Hey, there's a lot of people that don't even smoke that do smoke socially when they have a beer.
And they're trained to check ID, right? For the purpose of selling alcohol and now also for lottery. So why not tack on smokes to that?
Right. So you won't be able to buy cigarettes. You won't be able to buy cannabis. And you won't be able to buy liquor. You still won't be able to get a bottle of Jack Daniels at the beer store, even though you can get beer at the liquor store.
It's weird.
See, this is what I mean by
confusing.
We've got archaic laws in this province.
People come here, they're like, what the fuck is going on?
And thank God we're starting to modernize these ones. But either way, no cannabis and you can't buy smokes and you can't buy liquor.
Got it.
Those are the only three things. So when you go into the beer store, and again, it just makes sense. It's about convenience here, everybody. We shouldn't be making people go all over the place to get very basic tasks done, especially when the rest of the world has already moved on to these things. If I buy a case of Corona, sure as shit, I'm going to need a couple of limes. Because limes go in a bottle of Corona.
Right.
Why the fuck can't I buy a lime at the beer store? Why do I have to go to a completely other place to get that?
That's a totally reasonable one that they could add. I think easily, right? They've got the room for it too, right?
Yeah, of course. They've got nothing but space. And I don't even think they're going to need as much space as they have for the storefront part, because I don't know that as many people are going to go to the beer store when it's convenient to just stop at your local corner store and grab a 6-pack of Coors Light for the night.
Yeah, I'm wondering that too.
But if they sell more food options, maybe that's great. Maybe this will solve the grocery crisis. Hey, Loblaw and Sobeys there won't lower their prices, so go and get your eggs at the beer store.
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
That's weird. No, I can't.
But that would be cool.
It's too fragile. Like you're walking out with a 2-4 and a carton of eggs. It's fucking weird.
But I still have to go somewhere else to get the smokes.
Yes.
I do agree with them, though, on the cannabis thing. I mean, eventually, I'm sure we'll get to a point where you can hold multiple licenses and within the same building, you can sell cannabis and alcohol and that sort of thing. But for now, there's still too many people that don't understand you can't mix the two or you're going to get fucked up.
Sure. It's still governed differently, too, which puts a little weirdness in the plan as well.
Before we move on, I want to mention something that we're doing on the Scott and Kat show, and I want to mention a promo that we've got coming up for charity. All this week, you can enter on the websites of Energy 95.3. That's energy953radio.ca. Or you can also enter at 915thebeat.com to play a special Father's Day edition of Know the Show on Friday. If you're just a pod listener and you don't listen to the FM show, that's fine. We do a contest called Know the Show, and I will pre-ask Kat, or Kat will pre-ask me a bunch of questions, and the caller has to guess how we answered those questions. On Mother's Day, we did a rare caller against caller edition of Know the Show on Kat, who is a mom. So it makes sense that for Father's Day, we're going to do the same thing, but all dad questions by me.
That's right. I've got some great ones. And that includes hot takes. So we do a segment of, it's almost like I think most people in their youth or even in their adulthood have played Would You Rather, right? We've all played that game around the fire, Would You Rather, or whatever. It's the same thing, similar, but it's going to be all father/parenting/ whatever dad stuff related. And I got some great hot takes. Can't wait for this. It'll be good.
Okay, you again can enter energy953radio.ca or 915thebeat.com. At the absolute minimum, you're going to win a foursome of golf at Hockley Valley Resort, courtesy of Attractions Ontario. Now, we are going to be adding to that over the next couple of days, but that's your base. You get a nice foursome at a beautiful golf course. The other thing is, and speaking of golf, we're doing a charity golf tournament. The company is Chorus. We sponsor the Children's Fund Golf Tournament, and that's coming up on the 4th of July at Flamborough Hills Golf Club. I'm playing in that tournament, but it's just me. They said, Scott, it's just you. You're not bringing any of your stupid friends. Just you.
They said that too. Your stupid friends.
The ones that get all drunk and crazy at the golf tournament. All right, I will leave them home. So it's just me, and that means I've got 3 spots left in my foursome. We're going to auction off starting Friday, if I'm not mistaken. There's going to be an auction. It'll be up for a couple of days. You can buy in the auction a spot in my foursome. Now, why is that important for you? Well, I mean, this is a very unique opportunity. You don't get to play golf in a tournament like this with me, sit at the head table with me and the whole group and everything. It's going to be a good time. It's for a great cause. The tournament itself is very, very well run. This one includes lunch and dinner. There's prizes, there's holes with sampling and all sorts of other shit. So, we can play this round of golf if you win the auction, however you want. If you want to be serious golfers and you want to go in to win this tournament, I'm okay. I'm a pretty good golfer. I'll take it serious. I'll go to the range before we play. I will take practice swings. I will do all the shit you're supposed to do to win a golf tournament. And if you think we can win, I will help us win. If you just want to go out and have a good time, if you want to shoot the shit for 5 or 6 hours in the beautiful outdoors at Flamborough Hills and I don't know, crank a couple of beers, smoke a doob, whatever you want, I'm up for that too. We're going to do it however you want to do it if you win this auction. So later on this week, we will get the details out on how you can bid on that. It's going to be fun, and it is for a great cause, the Children's Fund, which does so much great work for kids, for example, and their after-school programs, meal and nutrition programs. It really is a great cause.
I'm curious because when it comes to auctions, it all comes down to the last minute, and it's right up until the midnight on the 21st. So good luck, friends. It's, this Friday to next Friday once again, and we'll give you a couple of reminders on the pod, too.
What do we do about the universities that accept more students than they have spaces in res for? Because the University of Guelph Cat says they're expecting more than 7,000 new students in September. However, they only have 5,000 residence spaces available. They've now sent an email to the incoming students, 1,365 of them, to tell them, oh yeah, you're actually on a wait list for a spot in res. School starts in 2 months. University. Just over 2 months.
That's right.
Is when people are moving into res.
Yeah.
And now you're telling these students, yeah, you don't have a spot in res. You're on a waiting list. What the hell is that? The U of G says, unlike in previous years, they never actually promised first-year students they had a spot guaranteed in res. Normally, first-year students get first crack at res. Not this year. They said they didn't promise that. They do, however, guarantee a spot for international students, but they swear it's not international students that's taking up all the beds. They just happen to have a lot of domestic students that would rather live in res than live with their parents. I don't know what the truth is, but I really don't understand how if somebody signs up to go to your school and you accepted them, how you can't at least offer them a spot in res. And if they don't want it, fine, take them off the list and offer it to the next person. But incoming students, they always get first crack at res.
Yeah, that's the way that I always knew it was. Yeah.
So what's the problem here?
Good question. I don't really know. Did they really have like a lack of? Has things changed where there's more students?
Well, 7,000
You know what I mean?
incoming students seems like a lot.
Is that normal? I would like to know what the norm is for each school. I mean, I know they're building things like crazy, but I know there has to be certain spots that are designated res, right?
Yes.
You're either like you has to be a designated spot. That said, there's going to be a ton of condos and tons of townhomes and shit. I don't know. When my friends went to Guelph, they had a great little fucking townhome apartment thing. It was great.
I don't think I've ever met somebody who's a graduate of the U of G that didn't rave about their time at school, that didn't love that experience. Certain schools are just known for a good time and a pretty good education, and Guelph's one of them. It's just, this is not right. 1,365 people that thought they had a residence are now being told, you're actually on a waiting list.
My residence is fun. It's like a little cave. My friends, for their first year, went there. Then they rented a place. But it's interesting. It almost feels like you're in a cave. And if you've been there, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's one of the parts anyway.
Let's go back to yesterday. You've probably heard, because there's a lot of talk about it and a lot of missing pieces here. In Ottawa, there was a report that came out from a National Security Commission that said a number of our MPs have been wittingly colluding with foreign powers to try and undermine Canada's democracy. Well, that sounds treasonous. I mean, there's people using the word treason left, right, and center because that's how it sounds. The problem is only a very small few people have actually read the report. One of the options for our federal leaders is if they want to swear to secrecy and they get cleared security-wise, they can read the document, but they're not allowed to talk about what's in the document. I almost forgot she's still around. Elizabeth May, Dizzy Lizzy, the leader of the Green Party, took them up on the offer. She wanted to read the report. And yesterday, she came out and briefed us all on what's in it.
National Security Intelligence Committee of Parliamentarians report. For myself, I can say, I have no worries about anyone in the House of Commons. There is no list of MPs who have shown disloyalty to Canada. There is no list of MPs who have shown disloyalty to Canada. So I am very glad I read the full report. I am very comfortable sitting with my colleagues. We will disagree on policy and on many issues, but I am vastly relieved. The most worrying case...
And she goes on from there. She says everything is fine. So what the fuck is going on here? There is no list. Apparently, the report identifies 13 members of parliament, but nobody is allowed to know who yet. And I don't understand why. I mean, that belongs to the public, that information, and it should be made public. Liz here says there is no list. What are we supposed to believe here? Is Liz just having another Liz moment? Is there really nothing to see here? Or is this serious and she's just really, really misreading the room? I mean, in all fairness, Elizabeth May is the same one who said Omar Khadr had more class than the whole fucking cabinet. So I don't know that I necessarily trust her judgment all that much. But either way, it seems like she's saying there's nothing going on. Do you think we'll ever get to the bottom of this? Do you think we'll ever find out what's going on? Do you think we'll find out before the next election? I think people would want to know that.
I don't know.
Liz, a little more information would be helpful if you don't mind. In Toronto, there's a big story brewing. This is one, it's tough, to be perfectly honest with you. A judge has ruled that the man who set fire to a woman at a TTC station in July 2022 is not criminally responsible for her death. Tenzin Norbu, you likely remember this story, was initially charged with first-degree murder in the death of the woman whom he didn't know. He walked up to this woman who was sitting on a bus, I believe it was at Kipling Station, covered her in lighter fluid, and lit her on fire.
It's a fucked up story. I remember it.
She was in one of the worst ways to die possible, burned alive. She ended up dying a couple of weeks after the incident in hospital. Her body just couldn't fight off everything that happened from having been burned alive.
Awful.
And I'm sure that she probably has family that's looking for a little bit of justice here. You killed our daughter, our sister, our mom, our aunt, whatever. I don't know that they're going to feel like they got that kind of justice because now this guy, not criminally responsible. It's not going to be a first-degree murder charge where if you're convicted, you do 25 to life. He's going to be in a mental health institution, a hospital, basically, for a very long time. But I think we've all heard enough stories over the last few years about what actually goes on there, too, with day passes being issued. And they don't follow the same rules that the prison system would follow. And I just don't know how that serves justice. I get that this guy was having a moment of psychosis, but I just don't see how that serves the victim here.
It doesn't, and it doesn't serve the families either. I mean, there's got to be a balance. Like I understand that there's sensitivities here when it comes to that, but at a certain point, we have to say there's no excuse for it. It's still a dangerous choice that was made. I understand under this umbrella, you can't say he was in his right mind to do it, but he certainly fucking did it.
He did
and
it.
If that was my family member, if that was my loved one, I would feel like justice was not served. Something needs to be done. Something needs to be done to find a better balance here, because that's outrageous for the family. I feel awful for them.
Yeah, me too. It's I'm trying to balance a couple of things here. I mean, if he was having a moment of psychosis, if he does have mental health issues, I'm sensitive to that. I really am. But at the end of the day, we're supposed to have a justice system that leans toward victims, not against perpetrators. And while this guy may have mental health issues and probably needs some treatment, fine. We still have to have victims that feel like justice was served. Mm-hmm. And right now, I just don't see how that's getting done. We're almost out of time here, so I'm going to do two more. Yesterday, our city, not our city, Toronto in particular, was thrown into complete commuter chaos. It started in the morning when another dump truck was driving around with the back up, and it took out a pedestrian bridge.
How did that happen? Look, I don't drive a truck. There's your fact for the day. I know you're like, what? That's not what you do? No, I do this. But isn't there like an indicator? And by an indicator, I mean like there should be a big fucking flashing light if you're in drive or reverse for that matter. I don't even think it matters. To indicate that that's open or up, whatever you're driving, anything's on. There should be there's no way you can mistake that from happening situation. But it happens. Why? What's happening?
I don't get it. I don't understand why these trucks can get over, say, 15 kilometers an hour with the backup. I don't get how you can drive on the highway with the back up on your dump truck and the car is still, or the truck is still able to drive.
It's strange.
I
don't get it.
And this is what happens again. So this took out a pedestrian bridge. Thank God nobody was on the bridge, or they certainly would have been killed. But it closed a major artery in and out of Toronto and Halton for hours yesterday. Mm-hmm. Fast forward a few hours later, another incident on the Gardiner. 3 trucks involved in a crash up there.
Awful.
1 person killed, and the highway was shut down in the middle of the afternoon rush hour in one of the worst traffic cities in the world. We have a major highway shut down because a bunch of trucks got into an accident.
Yeah.
At one point, people that were on the Gardiner, they were in park. And the reason I know that is because one of our colleagues was sitting in that mess. And she sent us video of her. Cars in park. She's not going anywhere.
Awful. Awful.
They had to, the Gardiner's a raised highway for those who don't know, and there's no easy ramp or a bullnose that you can just cut across to get off of it. So what they had to do was they had to get everybody one at a time, back up, U-turn, and then drive the wrong way down the highway to get to the nearest exit to get off, which of course made all of the interior roads and Lakeshore itself just completely impassable. It was a disaster.
Gong show. Yeah, it really is. I feel bad for the people. I've been there where I've had to reverse on the highway. It's fucking weird.
Have you ever had to try and convince someone that you were a celebrity or a well-known person?
I've never had to convince them, but there's been times where people didn't believe it. Yeah.
So like you're talking to somebody and it just happens to come up. Yeah, I'm the voice of TikTok. And they're like, get the fuck out of here. You are not.
Yeah.
And then you have to do the voice to prove it, right?
It's embarrassing. And no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that.
I've done that when people are like, you're not the guy on the radio. And I'm like, yes, I am.
Hey, Scott Fox here. And then it's embarrassing. But then at that point, you got to prove it's you if you need to. I mean, there's circumstances where honestly, I'd rather just be like, yeah, you're right. It's not me.
Yeah, I was lying.
It's fine.
So never mind.
Sometimes I've been to points where I'm just like, yeah, you can Google it. Like, you just Google it. You'll see that it's me. You can watch the video of me doing it. I don't feel like fucking doing this right now. Just Google me. You'll see me doing it.
Well, the reason it comes up is because the singer, one of the singers from the legendary Motown group, the Four Tops, is now suing a Detroit hospital for wrongfully assuming he was mentally ill when he told staff he was a celebrity. For those who don't know, this is what the Four Tops sound like. How
old is he now? Sorry.
How you doing over there, millennial? Did you know what that was?
You know what's so funny is that I think my very first regular gig at radio anyway was at an oldies station. It was Oldies 1090, which does not exist anymore. And I, as a 20-something, like young 20-something, had to play that music and had to learn who the fuck these people are. So I am familiar with that.
Maybe this is part of the problem with radio these days is it seems like everybody gets their start playing oldies. I did the exact same thing. I was on the can, 1480 AM, CKAN, playing good times and great oldies.
Oh my God.
With the Four Tops.
Been in a lot of movies too.
Sure it has.
I think most people know this song.
They don't make songs like that anymore. It was happy, it was positive, it was fun, it was upbeat, it was not like lick my ass and eat my pussy and all that shit that you hear in songs now. Off topic, but if you listen to the lyrics of the new Billie Eilish song,
yeah,
I want to eat that girl for lunch.
Yeah,
watch her dance over my tongue.
Yeah,
it's fucked.
Yeah,
the Four Tops weren't singing about eating a pussy. That never happened.
It's funny how many of them have hidden innuendos, but you really had to hide them back then because you were not getting radio play, which did matter more than anything else.
Well, this guy, who is a singer from the Four Tops, was having some chest pains. His name is Alexander Morris. So he went to the hospital, breathing problems, chest pains, and he tried to tell the staff, I'm this guy. I'm Alexander Morris from the Four Tops. They honestly thought he was fucking crazy. They tried to have him undergo a psychological exam. They were going to commit the fucking guy because they thought he was crazy because he thought he was a celebrity.
Well, here's the thing is I would think you're crazy if you just came in saying those things. You know what I mean? Like, if it gets brought up, like, what's your occupation? I'm a retired musician. Oh, from what? I'm a famous singer. Like, that's how I could see, or I was a famous singer, whatever the case is. That's how I could see it making sense. But did he come in going, move over, don't you know who I am? I'm from the Four Tops. Then people probably did go, what a fucking crazy loon.
I don't know that it was that or if there was a question about his ID when he was checking in because the American system's different. Or maybe
it's hard to say.
It was as simple as, my doctor's got to start paying attention or making notes. It seems like every time I see my doctor, he asks me, and what do you do for a living? Maybe it was one of those. So he said, I'm a famous singer. And they're like, okay, crazy. We're going to send you for a psych exam. It wasn't until one nurse finally thought, maybe this guy isn't lying. And maybe they Googled it or...
They should have from the beginning.
Phoned their mom or something and then realized, oh shit, this guy actually is a very famous singer.
He probably has like a Wikipedia page or something. Like, why didn't they just look it up?
So the hospital had to apologize. Like, oh, fuck, sorry, we thought you were crazy. They offered him a $25 gift card for the gift shop as an apology. $25.
What? For flowers or a teddy bear? Like, what else do they sell in there?
Would you like a bear that has a halo on its head?
Sometimes they got granola bars and snacks in there, don't they? I didn't even... Wait a minute. Sorry, I'm a little obsessed with this part. Do they have gift cards for hospital gift shops, or was this like a one-of-a-kind thing for him?
No, apparently they do.
Shut up.
Yeah, I mean, it's like if you're... I don't know, your loved one is going in for surgery or something and you can't be there, leave them a little gift card for the gift shop and they can wander down and buy some snacks.
I didn't even think of that.
New AirPods or whatever.
I mean, that's great. That's great that exists, but I would have never have thought to get someone a gift card. Anyway, okay, so they tried to compensate him. That obviously wasn't enough for him because he sued them.
Yeah, he doesn't want $25 in a gift card from the gift shop. Instead, he's suing them for an undisclosed amount for thinking he was crazy and telling him he's not who he actually is.
I wonder, like, what can you actually get for that, though? Okay, so let's say that a judge is willing to hear this out or whatever the process is for this. Really? Like, I mean, he didn't go through the psych eval. They had a right, potentially had a right to be concerned. We didn't hear their side of the story. They had a right to maybe be concerned about this guy. But it's not like they were like, they locked him up for days and did the psych eval and kept him in a quiet room, you know? Like, so
but they were about to.
Maybe. I don't know if you should be compensated that much, but I know it's a different system there in the States. You got to pay money. So for you, for them, it's a very business. It's all business.
They're apologizing, and if you find yourself in the hospital, there's gift cards apparently.
Tell them that you're from the band the Four what is it?
The Four Tops.
The Four Tops.
Yes.
Thank you.
Have a great day, everybody. We will catch you right back here with another After 9 tomorrow. Don't forget, enter that contest if you want to play for our Father's Day giveaway on Friday.
Bye, friends.
Sabrina Carpenter is releasing an ice cream following the success of her hit song. It's an espresso-flavored ice cream after Sabrina's song Espresso. Hopefully it does better than when the Beatles released their poorly received I Am the Walrus Gelato with a base of real goo-goo-goo-joob.
According to a new poll, the most annoying thing someone could do on a plane is let their children play in the aisle. Oh. Yep. Then a person with their bare feet on the ceiling was like, oh yeah, I hate that.
According to a new survey, the best amusement park in the country is Dollywood, finally beating out the attractions over at Jolene Land.
Costco plans to stop selling books on a regular basis, but will continue to sell books between September and December for the holidays. Well, thank goodness. I'll still be able to get Evie her favorite Christmas present, 600 copies of Cormac McCarthy's The Road, and a $1.50 hot dog.